I'm actually gonna I've been swayed by Nine in recent months. This is gonna be full recency bias. I think this is gonna
Okay.
be a 2-1 for Nine.
All right. Do you know what? I don't think I'm going to beat around the bush much either. I think it's going to be close, but I think Nine have got it. I mean, without further ado, let's head into the game and see how things go, Yumi, because of course, a BO3 to see who gets to the upper final.
All right, straight into it. Nine will start CT side, no doubt. Monte's map selection, and we should get to see very quickly just whether or not Monte are up to the task. Did a great job of beating past the likes of Big. Don't think anybody quite expected that to go so poorly. I mean, Tabson's a fantastic individual fragger, but Monte have that in chock full and spades. Out from ramp they'll go with a single flash, and Kai completely checked for. Hades unaccounted for, but misses every shot. Woro's able to deal with him on a quick spin, and while Minio does claw back at least one more kill, they have lost this A bomb site just as quick as it started.
That's an outrageous couple of kills from Boros. You talk about this high-octane individual. He delivers on all cylinders for Monte. And it is just Kylar left, 1 versus 4. He's got a nade and some Kevlar to his name. But other than that, really, this round, all about constellation kills, all about damage control. As Monte just plow their way through towards A. And kind of expected, right? You talk about their map pick, you talk about Mirage, you talk about how good this team is on an individual level. And I think more of the same. This could be a very quick dismissal of this first map.
Yeah, I'd also like to just call back to a time where, DemQQ was, I think, in more stable times, old Na'Vi Jr. I think DemQQ is a part of that roster once upon a time. It was also a solid map for him as an individual, someone that kind of flew under the radar. We were looking at maybe future years for whether or not he'd sort of blossom into something great. It's been a bumpy road since, but that's kind of what this Monte team is all about. They've pulled mercs from pretty much every region, and they've all culminated inside one squad. Nice little stack and boost play here from Nine. 5 players collected near the firebox, and they do at least collect on a couple of kills, but that'll be all that they are able to get. Second round for Monte is no harm, no foul, but a couple casualties at least keeps their money in check.
Yeah, I was going to say, the USPs aren't all cuteness. It does have some bite to it. Sometimes they sting massively, and that's one of those where you could be happy walking away with a couple of kills. You're not going to be over the moon. You haven't won the round. You haven't destroyed them with no investment of your own. But as you said, right, it's just keeping them in formation, keeping them in check, making sure that this economy for Monte doesn't spiral out of control at an instant. Of course, back to the rifles. Minio going to take first contact towards mid here. Kai going to drop a flash to try and help him out, but ultimately, I think they're going to have to counterfeit any of the control that they wanted to establish. There's a smoke in the face of Minio. Goofy now looking from short. But again, there is a certain level of timidity here. Nine have to show respect with the limited utility they have.
Smoke going to dissipate soon, and Boros makes a step around bottom con. Kai waiting for the smoke to phase out. But they are keeping it in conscious mind, but not until Kai gets a couple of frags. SDY able to trade, but just barely holding onto this mid control, and Minio finding one more before departing. Have at least some space over towards A, but DemQQ shot in the side. Hades was playing it very safe, very passive, and had hitted himself away. Oh, Krasnol doesn't live for much longer afterwards to tell the tale. Nine will instantly answer back on their first buy round into this game, and I just want to bring this up while we have the time. Monte are definitely going to be one of those teams that you look at who they're facing and what kind of opponents they have in front of them. You could have seen Nine go for the force buy in the second round, saves, make sure Hades got that ult out nice and early. But they took these rifles and they immediately wanted to set the precedent that they could fight back.
Delivering as well. You can see already the Monte economy pulled apart. Just because of one offset, right? One investment that Nine make, a successful bout towards middle, and, the chain reaction off the back of it has caused Monte basically to hit the big red panic button. They go for another buy. Woro's on a glass cannon AWP. SDY's got an AK and armor, sure, but utility for this T side, basically next to nothing. And they're relying on engagements like that. A 6-shot out of SDY. Hades lining up a double. Krasnol and Boros. Stars align. All he has to do is hold mouse 1, and Hades resulted with a double. Kai going to take a fight towards site, catch him, DemQQ. or DemQQ as he moves towards Tetris. And Woro trying to fire off on the same cylinder. Unfortunately, an AWP against the headshot angle is going to be very insignificant from Tetris. And, well, while it can't be made flawless and SDY trying to poke holes into this 9 economy, you kind of feel like it should be tie game. Oh, no.
Yeah, smoke doesn't quite go where he wants it to, but it's somehow going to help him. Minio's on a flank into the apartments, and joining him will be Hades unless he decides to detour over towards short. SDY has nowhere to go. He's completely boxed in, and so he has to be somewhere within this bomb site. Got kits available as well, so time is something they can play with. SDY will be in his own head about whether or not he's going to be shot from behind or not. Minio spamming smoke, so giving up information, and SDY's attention is taken. Hades will capitalize immediately, and a nice trio of frags from the new acquisition here from 9, on a rifle no less.
I'm not sure if that was an intentional play made there, Yumi, but it was a sick one nonetheless. You saw him obviously bob his head towards apartments. Hades is going to swing off that. The information probably went both ways, right? It was exchanged between 9 and Monte and SDY. Just too many angles, as you said. Not enough guns to kind of hold the fort. But the fact that he's able to find 2 at a bomb plant, you can see that already SDY, I don't agree with the hero buy, but they have dipped into a fairly deep half buy, right? For the most part, we'll ignore SDY. It's a couple of people on half armor, it's pistols. It's a hope to try and cut out, again, more of the finances here from 9, because their money right now is sitting very raw. And for Monte, that's very pretty, especially when SDY is finding openers.
Might not even be something that... It might be something that he's taken from Na'Vi, not something that they're shy from doing as well, having one person subject themselves to a rifle. And yeah, the next buy won't be ideal for him, but could maybe just win the round single-handedly. Boros will take that AK because of the low HP of SDY, but he got what he needed. And now they set up to try and overwhelm on this A site. 2 players will be close by. Goofy still holding for mid.
Smoke goes straight in as well towards connector. That's going to allow Kai to sit here a little longer. Hades is up for the opening frag, catching the rifle out towards Tetris. And, well, it's as easy as that, isn't it? I mean, out of ammunition on the A1S. But doesn't matter. You've kind of hindered the progress of the bomb, and that's all they needed to do. Because now SDY left alone, P250, 1v3, dink, but no frag. Goofy survives, picks up an AK for good measure, and it's 9 that take the lead, 3-2.
Yeah, we'll see them buy, regardless of the fact that SDY won't have the funds. So, gonna have to leverage someone like Woro or Boros to try and be a pry bar into one of these rounds. Just keep thinking to that connector double kill to underpass from Hades. He didn't even pull down. It was just it was like almost like an accident, but sometimes they're happy little accidents. A lot of noise towards the underpass, so they know this is going to be some sort of a heavy mid play in for Monte. 9 aren't heavily committed. Minio not facing to forward inside of the windows, of course smoked off. But Minio will still find a minor gap to exploit. I think SDY quite loud about his approach. Took a lot of damage for his efforts, but again, this man advantage can be held onto for a little while longer.
Missing any of that threat. It's a nice push from Boros, though. Kai caught off guard. That's the only issue with playing connector. Your gun barrel sticks out way too far, protruding enough for Boros to penalize. 3 versus 4, yet again from a man up to a man down. 9 gonna have to work back from this deficit, not to mention Monte kind of have them cornered right now, right? I mean, you look at the dots on the mini-map and where they're positioned. A lot of these players just circling around A. Bomb hasn't even made any progress out of connector just yet. They're just waiting for all the other pieces to fall into place, and that's an important kill from Kylar. Orc going to pick up the information from Palace, but DemQQ nailing the shot onto Hades. And now a Kylar clutch required. 1 versus 3. Got to pick your fights wisely, my friend. A HE certainly could go a long way. Doesn't matter what damage you do to DemQQ in this one, though, because the bomb has already made that long-winded rotation. The marathon sprint towards B. Kylar, I mean, he's yet to even move off of A. He's so focused on making sure this player doesn't survive. And while he gets his wish, I don't think there's any chance he wins this round.
Oh, man, he'll be punished for quick switching, just as he thought he might have a moment of respite. Woro's quick on the hunt. They knew that they had information on those last 2 remaining players, so yeah, 9 were in a bad spot. And I like that Monte slowed down there. You know, you get all these kills. It's very easy to fall into the trap of just pushing for urgency, but as soon as they ID exactly where they're positioned, it took the route of least resistance. An equalized affair, but you imagine not much will change in these coming rounds. There's been a real priority in showing their face in mid. Nine will once again have heavy presence themselves. In fact, Goofy pushing past the bottom con smoke will hazard a glance, but no one's actually committed out top mid for Monte just yet.
I guess calculated. Maybe Hades could have helped him out from top mid. I don't think he'd have done that on his own solo. I think that's an information gather with far greater risk than reward. Something to note, of course, 9 in this position with very limited utility, Yuumi. So, you know, you've got to pick your fights wisely, especially after, you know, burning your smoke early towards connector. Don't really give yourself much of a chance in terms of taking control towards A nor B. Kind of boxed yourself back in here, and you've only got 1 kit to share between the 5 as well. So a lot of this sort of give and take scenario, just relying on 9 to find these trades. And with Boros finding entries, we knew sort of the firepower he'd have here on Mirage. Certainly does deliver. As round 7, it seems to be going the way of Monte. Another shot from SDY connector. Molly at the feet of Europa to try and catch him off. He kind of has the idea. Oh no, Hades didn't up with the USP, but finally caught out Kyler. This is a very manageable clutch. Knows that that second player is stuck towards the triple box, but he doesn't know where SDY is. And that player's deep in towards connector, and that's an easy route out of this round. DemQQ swings off the back of it. A very scrappy round from Monte. Could have been scary. Hades, you kind of feel like the round was in the palm of his hand if it was the old AWP.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be gutting to have 2 players that are in a great position to punish one of the Monte defenders on that post plant, and both of them run out of ammo. You know, Kyler is ready for the triple swing, but he also runs out of bullets in his M4. And yeah, Hades, I think, just forgot that he'd already fired off 5. Well, down to USPs, R9. Monte in a prime position to actually start building on a lead and getting some distance away. I have to say, so far from their T side, it has been all over the map. It's been all sorts of different players activating. Now overwhelmed for bottom con, and the AWP of Woro missing his shots too, but Boros there on cleanup crew, so him and DemQQ will get every single kill needed. Krasnal, I think, sneaking in there for one of his own, but that goes from looking like a dire circumstance to suddenly there's no problems.
Threat dismissed. That was scary, Yuumi. Just for half a second, right? Your first rifleman gets dropped from bottom connector. Your second man is pinned in by the AWP. And nearly 9 were commissioned for a round win there. Instead, Monte will hold on much to the efforts of Boros yet again. We're talking about this young man. We're talking about this star opportunity. And yet again, he just makes it look easy. I think SDY maybe not communicating with his teammate that he wanted to molly it and not smoke it. And so they lob both towards top middle. Of course, one puts out the other. Oh my word, Goofy. Nearly finding the transfer while blind. His teammate actually eating the HE there, Yuumi. A bit comical in the middle of this round, but SDY, no pun to his frag. It's Kai that gets dropped by the AK.
Yeah, Minio just sees his light extinguished inside of connector as he starts to make his rotate in. SDY try to creep through the smoke, and wow, okay, the immediate trade there from Krasnal, spamming the wood wall, and Kylar will try and pick up the pieces, at least maintain a grip and support of element there for Hades, but unable to even collect on his one. 2-on-2, and they're still not committed out of con. Krasnal making a lot of noise, diving back underpass, and he's hoping to bait someone out. He's staring at that window. Kylar, if he even hazards a glance, no, so preoccupied with that. Woro flanks him instead, and so this A site cleared out. Goofy a 1-on-2, and really dialing back into these positions, given the sound bait and just the lack of information about where these two will be positioned, not even playing off of one another.
Got to be the straw to break the camel's back here. No money in the back pockets for 9. So Goofy, no point saving. You just have a look. You see what you can find, and that's a good start. Smoke on top of the bomb as well, but no smoke. Unfortunately, no kit. And now Woro starts to just absolutely hail in that smoke with the AK. And unfortunately for Goofy, 5-second stick maybe would have been enough. But unfortunately, not going to be the case. And 9 finally utilizing those tactical timeouts. I don't hate it that it comes at this point. Monte, having already established a definitive lead here on this T side, does create the task of the CTs a little harder. Obviously, not to mention Monte's history in this game as well, Yuumi, and in recent times as well. currently on a 7-match win streak, right? And you look at the teams that they're toppling. Big, sure, is the sickest name of the lot, but they've been playing against some pretty formidable opponents in 2023 so far. You know, they've been playing the academy sides. They've got a win over Apex. I guess a more local job to obviously this Monte lot would be the CIS derby that they would have been playing against Spirit Academy. They dismissed them 2-0. Like the history's looking pretty good for Monte, right? They are starting to show some consistency in results. I think qualifying for IEM Brazil would definitely be a good way to start their year.
Yeah, I think the good news for them is that they've actually just been streaky. You know, they'd maybe lose 1 or 2 series in and amongst streaks of their own, because even before their current 7-game win streak, I think they were on like 8 or 9 prior to losing that game. So
yeah,
it's a good look. I mean, they have been doing a lot of work in these online cups. Making sure not to lose rounds like this is also a good piece of the equation. You take the next jump up. The thing is, the top 30 teams, they win these rounds. And they certainly can do, so you need to have all the extra caution as a part of your playstyle, but even with that, DemQQ, Boros, they take some pretty brazen peaks, win their fights outright, and 9 are too heavily split to do anything about it. Hades is just hoping he goes by unchecked, and he kind of gives up his position, missing his shots. 1 kill won't quite cut it. They had more production, funnily enough, out of USP rounds in both instances. 9 got 2 kills on USPs, and this time on the half-buy, they get just the 1.
Boros feeling very synonymous with the kill feed right now. Every round, Yumi, he's just putting up big numbers, finding kills. I mean, sure, this one was against an eco. You can't argue. You're expecting a win out of Monte, but making it number 7, I feel like a lot of the difficulty in these teams is, in fact, winning rounds like that, because I feel like way too often we're seeing too much damage being done on these ecos. The pistols finding way more than what should be argued with. So it's important that they keep this one under wraps. I'm not sure if you caught. There was a Mac 10 on Krasnal trying to target these players that are a little poorer without the head Kevlar, you know, in scenarios where they can't afford head protection. That's where the Mac 10 is going to be so viable, but DemQQ, opening frag is his. Boros through the smoke, finding Goofy, and in the matter of moments, 9 are going to be calling this one off. They're waving the white flag. They're done. They want nothing to do with round 11.
Busted by pace. Monte just barreling out of the B apartments, and 9 weren't quite ready for it. They're starting to deploy some counter utility to hopefully slow it down, but there's no stopping this Monte train. Oh, miss from Hades as well, so they know exactly where that AWP was last seen. Could actually commit to a hunt. Minio is trying his best to cover off all exits, and will actually deal with Woro. So there's a perimeter set up around where this AWP is. Both Kai and Minio can act as first responders if he needs a little help. But a round win nonetheless here for Monte. And I think the thing is, you know, you're talking about Boros being, I think, one of the heavy hitters so far. It's not just him. I think that's what's cool to see out from Monte, is that in each of these individual rounds, we're seeing sometimes good follow-up kills from SDY or DemQQ as well. Woro's been getting engaged in the action alongside the squad. No one's really falling behind, I think, is the important thing. And on T sides, where you have hyper-aggressive players, it can be very easy. It can be very easy to fall behind. You know, Boros will get 2 or 3 kills, and you don't even get a chance to really shoot at anybody sometimes. But now, when they've been called to order, they have delivered. And 9, there was a small resurgence on that first gun round, but ever since, they've been stopped in their tracks.
Oh, that is unfortunate for Kai. Nose pressed to the smoke, and that will signify certain death. Minio might even have to deploy his own smoke to get out of trouble. Burning alive, the nade well placed from Boros. You just watched his death happen as Minio, his eyes will shut for the final time in round 12. And yet again, as you say, it's just win by pressure. Monte send it right in. Flashbangs in excess of what's required. They just send it out, everyone blind. Minio has to play more passive towards jungle. That leaves Kai out to dry. And from there, right, it's in the history books. Monte pencil in a 9th. There's no chance back into this one. Short damage is cool, but look at the money for the T side. They don't care about the casualties at this point, Yumi. They just care about taking the guns away from 9.
Will succeed in at least getting rid of the AWP, but wonder if Goofy's gonna try his luck at it. No. Or even switching out to the AK just in case they decided to pursue, but he keeps safeguard on both of those AWPs. Hades can still reinvest into it if he decides to, but the team money is not looking too hot. I'll actually opt to drop over an A1S, make sure that everyone has the guns they need. How do you evaluate this? Do you value the Hades AWP over a better rifle for Kai? Seen some good work from him in terms of getting multi-kills on that A-bomb site. We've seen actually some misses as well from Hades, and that's one of the conversations that I was trying to bring up earlier on, is that, you know, Hades is the star acquisition. One of the reasons I think people will be watching this roster is just to see how he does after his descent from Ents. And he's trying to reinvent himself, be a bit more, I think, rifle dependent. But at the same time, you know, you're kind of expecting the same way that Hades got picked up. He was doing a lot of damage in this kind of circuit, this sort of echelon of Counter-Strike. And for him to not be taking over this game or even getting close to it is maybe a worrying sign. Boros, very fast up to short, does get traded almost instantly, and Kai does have a player sitting inside bottom con. SDY spun the wrong direction. 50-50 guess about which side Kai would still occupy, but you don't always win those. 4-on-3 now, and Monte can pump the brakes, hope that 9 maybe overextend. We've seen some, I think, sometimes questionable decisions in terms of how dedicated and committed they are to a couple of the fights. Goofy peeking top stairs in one of the A hits earlier on was certainly something that stuck out in my mind. Not a player that's still alive, but felt like he was channeling, well, what his name would suggest.
Loving that Monte, probably renowned for aggressive plays, right? Very, very hyper team. They know when to stop. They know when to sort of slam the brakes, as you said, but they also know when to hit the gas pedal and accelerate and get in the faces of this 9 side. You'd expect roster with these names to be very puggy, you know, sort of throw utility into like second place and going for headshots as first, which, you know, it's how you win a game of Counter-Strike, but tactically speaking, you thought Monte would be a little less complex than really what they are. Back turn from Woro, though, should be his demise. Just waiting for Hades to get the right timing. I mean, I don't know how Woro has stayed alive for so long. Finally, Hades might have a look. And indeed, he will. The AWP closes the show here and does make it number 4 for 9. I think you got to look at this scenario. The best you can do is 6. It's always going to be a negative half for you, Yubi. You know, you got to pencil underneath this first 15 and go, do you know what? From this position, 9, they're never going to win the half. But now it's about minimizing the threat, closing that gap as best as they can, and making sure that the pistol means a little bit more to introduce them back into map 1.
Yeah, it's one of those conversations we have about both halves being the same. You know, theoretically on a T side, going into the second half, you'll have every opportunity to do the same thing. But if Monte have a 10 or 11 round to 4 advantage, they'll get to that finish line faster than you can maybe even adapt. Kai trying once again to press his smoke, and does get punished for it, but not quite as handily as we saw in rounds prior. Not as committed were Monte either in terms of picking up the pace over at A. Late execution of utility, and Goofy wide out from short. Didn't really have the backup he was hoping for. Hades dipped out before the aggression started to mount. Now they'll try and take position elsewhere. Kai setting himself up inside a palace, but Monte, I think, might even just converge on a B-sided split. They have short pressure. They know as well that Kylar's been left to his own devices in a number of rounds. They're quick.
Liking this as well, Kylar using the smoke to try and give him a bit of space to work with. He's in such a confined space that basically needed that room to breathe, and unfortunately Krasnal will deny all of that, and you can see this unrelenting aggression from Monte. Yet again, they don't slam the brakes. They know to close this round out. They just take down that backside player, claim bench as their own, and 9, unfortunately for them, have to show the respect, which means Monte hitting double digits before the first half ends on the T side of Mirage. This is the kind of performance we're expecting out of them, Yumi, but I don't think 9 were going to be as prepared to get as embarrassed as they are right now.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the way this half started, Monte had their early successes, obviously winning the pistol and the conversion rounds, but then when 9 got that first gun round, you know, usually it can take a little bit of time. Sometimes there's a bit of writer's block in terms of how you answer back in the early stages of a map. 9 didn't seem to have that problem. It's the follow-up that's been the more difficult side of things. And, you know, we're talking about how Monte are maybe a team you don't expect to be so well thought out. I would say the early rounds don't feel like they're very hyper-complex. They're predominantly sort of working off of mid-rounding and doing a great job of it so far. That's why we've seen the difference in how they play out these 3v3s or 4v4s. Slowing things down sometimes, but also accelerating in other places. Very aggro move from Minio towards Underpass. Could actually flank out players at B, and if he pushed much further, DemQQ's actually holding for it. Teammates got out to B, and Krasnol is able to deal with his one. The only linchpin, the only saving grace in this round, dismantled in an instant, and Hades in a 1-on-5.
Not looking good, Yuumi. What a read from DemQQ, by the way. Spins back around, understanding that Underpass could have been a threat. And there you have it, 1v5 for Hades, up on the angle. Boros has got his head off. 11-4 at the turn of the half, Yuumi. 9 have been embarrassed.
Here we go, second half. Monte now in a position where they may just completely demolish what 9 have to offer. A very dangerous state of affairs, that's for sure, here for 9. I mean, this is a map that Monte are definitely going to be dominant on, but didn't think quite like this.
Oh man, look at this trade out of Boros. Brilliant stuff. DemQQ gonna hold his nerves as well. Kai, a double, spins back to make it 3. And our Guardian Angel for 9. delivers a triple on a silver platter. Might even be able to make it 4 as well, as it's just DemQQ left. The man of the hour needs to strike again for Monte. Taps it, expecting a peek. Minio will minimize that threat. And finally, 9 tossed a lifeline. It's 5-11.
Has to be more success stemming off of just the pistol round. I mean, we saw the early stagnation of 9 to come back into this game, and it just didn't happen. I am fearful. I'm worried, I won't lie. But things are aligning in such a way that there is a path back into this game.
Again, just 9 trying to abuse this Monte side with SMGs. What a shot out of Krasnal. Does a bit of tag damage to Goofy as well. Woro's got him covered. What's going on? His SMG's not finding much. The rifles aren't either. Finally, some space given up to 9. 3 versus 3. Deagle still trying to punch holes through this attack as 9 find an advantage. Finally, maybe they can sight some relief. Still a scout and a 5-7 combination to try and make it a Monte 12th spotting out, finding nothing. DemQQ, he'll fall as well. Woro already tagged up from a previous engagement. His life short-lived as Kai will make it a hat trick. It's 9 up to 6.
Is there anywhere to hide, anywhere to go, especially when you're going to be forcing and trying to apply that pressure nice and early? Things are going to slow down in terms of what kind of expectations Monte would have had. You know, win that pistol, he could have been thinking about a secondary map already, but yeah, you can't underestimate 9 either, a team that have definitely been impressing as of late. You have to hope that they can maintain that form, especially against these pistols. That's actually one of the shortcomings Monte had on their T side, is that they were consistently getting killed a couple of times by these USPs, but seems like that fate is destined for both parties. Krasnal, 1 kill, and Kyler will make sure that he doesn't escape with an SMG at the very least. Oh, labored fight, and not exactly a pretty sight either. Okay, all under control in the end.
Is how it's done, Yumi. Or that it's done, not how it's done. It matters that it has been done. There you go. That's what I wanted to go with. It is now just Woro, the old P250. This gun sucks when it's in my hands, and I think he's suffered with similar fate. Kyler just takes his head off. Very inaccurate. Hate it. Get it gone. Or give it a buff. But probably it's because I suck at the game and the gun isn't bad. 11-7, Yumi. 9 starting to play a game of chase. Right now feels a little bit distant with the goal. I think that's obvious, right? Monte is still ahead. They now have rifles. They present their case. See what's going on for this force investment for 9. Obviously, I say it's a force. It's actually a full bite. All of them going with AKs and AWPs now, rather than sticking to SMGs. And I guess this is the litmus test, right? If 9 can do it on rifles, then why shouldn't we believe in a comeback story? Why shouldn't we believe that they can take map 1?
Well, trying to distract, trying to pull extra players over towards A. Bomb still creeping its way through to B, and Krasnal will finally suss it out. Kyler's been dealt with. This is not one you want to have happen so quickly. Goofy completely stops. They are broken down inside of the B apartments. Minio eventually will scramble together one, but only just barely clutching onto that bomb, and his teammate dealt with. AWP will take him out of distance, and Krasnal finally finishes off business. Monte answer back as soon as they get their hands on proper weaponry. 9 slowed down to a fumble.
Unfortunately, that is the round that we needed 9 to win if we wanted to see a close map 1, Yumi, because now, as you said, right, like, you give Monte proper weaponry. If they're able to win it out the way they do, you know, 3 players survive, you've got an AWP, you've got M4s, you've got stacks of utility. That's all a luxury. 9, nearly a dream. I've got, I mean, sure, maybe what looks like a decent investment, but behind it is a Deagle and a Mac 10, and that certainly won't be enough. 12-7 the scoreline. They're really running out of time to try and make this magic happen here. Map 1 obviously being Monte's pick. You're expecting it to go their way. But if they can make it 16-7, as much as we like to say that Tier 1 players have hard hats on when it comes to mentality, you'll be living in the back of your mind knowing that Monte are able to make it work just as easy as they have here on Mirage.
A very, very slow approach to this round here from 9. Really allowing every inch to be pursued by Kai. Make sure that you can clear things out towards Palace. DemQQ fresh smoke in at ramp, and they still are hoping that, in some respects, this lack of information is going to work to their advantage. Monte haven't probed too hard.
Seconds. Have left it late here, 9, but don't blame them for it. Try and extract the utility out of Monte, and works off quite nicely for Kai to find the entry. Boros knows what he's doing with the M4. Slips back through the smoke, and he's going to find the frag through it. Goofy gone. Minio, while he does trade and take down Europa, only just establishing that site control. You can already see immediate pressure warranted by this Monte side as they sink into a man advantage in this post-plant. Rascal's making it a double. Boros closes up shop for round 20, and Monte have earned themselves a 13th. A lot closer than maybe some would have expected, considering the guns that 9 had to offer, but they certainly show their power. It's another round. It's consecutiveness from the CT side.
Yeah, and we go from maybe a small hurrah, a small saving grace, and the fact they win the pistol and the follow-up, but now that Monte are back in winning ways with the rifles in hand, it's starting to feel like this game is just completely out of 9's favor. Didn't show up quite the same way that Monte jump-started the engine here on Mirage. And it's to be expected. You know, the map where, I mean, a lot of these guys have been pug grinders, been in between teams, and during that time they're trying to keep the mechanics fresh. They are making a lot of solid individual plays. Woro does miss out on his AWP shot and is actually somehow able to get away relatively scot-free. There were Tech 9 spamming at him, but no, not many bullets connected.
DemQQ, got to be careful. Don't allow these pistols to charge him down entirely. Kai getting tagged up as well. M4, 1 for 1, but fortunately, SDY has his back. It has actually earned a bit of an over-rotation out of Monte. They bite down a little too hard on the idea that it's A, and Minio is able to slide up short and create this realm of possibility. You know, I won't say it's a chance. I wouldn't say it's a chance yet, at least. On Kevlar, both of these players have no protection to show, but Boros slips off the boost, and SDY caught off by Hades. Surely now they know the loss is towards short. It was the bottom end of the boost. It's Woro that tries to peek his head around the smoke, and as it starts to fade, he fires off once. He switches out weapons. He's trying to create issues, but Minio will solve them all by putting him to rest. It's 13-8. 9 have their recovery on an eco.
Yeah, not too scared and not too fearful. Good pace moving into that B bomb site, and once they knew they had this 2-on-1, could simply sit behind hard cover where that AWP could do so little. Even if he decided to creep up with that AWP, take one shot, the other is likely to swing, so difficult position for Woro to try and clutch back. Really want to see the same type of activation, you know, the same kind of flair that we see from players like Kai or Minio. Hell, even Hades. I think he's been kind of a sleeper this game. And a few opportunities to dominate rounds on that CT side, but also just couldn't keep track of how quick Monte were about approaching these angles. AWP for Woro. That hero investment coming into the round does find 1 kill, and they'll push further to make sure they can achieve and acquire that rifle. Make it so that this buy is a lot more considerable.
I do find it interesting that always Monte, there's one player that just wants to go for a hero gun, right? Like, look at Woro in this round with an AWP. It was SDY twice on the T side that went for an AK. But I tell you what, the AK on the CT side is working a treat. Boros caught out, but SDY found success elsewhere. Unfortunately, a second look in, didn't expect a pistol. Overlooked that there might have been a trade out of the Monte side. Minio will again put that threat to rest, but the bomb making its way now towards B. It's a foot chase. Nine will win it out, and they will be able to squeeze a bomb plant out. But the question is, will they be able to eke a ninth from it? Because Monte, they're geared up ready for this one. As I said, Woro's on an AWP. DemQQ got a rifle now in his hands. One from short, one from apps. Nine can't really set themselves up for a positive post plant here. They've got to just take fights when they can.
Don't know if I really like the approach here for Monte. They'd have a buy if they save this AWP, and with DemQQ getting immediately deleted, yeah, Woro won't want to stick around for too much longer. This hero investment is sure it instigates some action. It almost enables a complete overturn of a round that was almost guaranteed to be Nine's. Or is even just hunting for an extra exit. Knows that the apartment is likely to be a path they take, and will land the tag. So Kai needs to get some distance before that bomb sets off, but 9th round for 9, no problems. A very scary mid-round, but well recovered from Minio.
Loving that that round is actually reality, and it does go their way. Things getting scary, but yet again, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, Yumi. I hate to be that guy, but should it have ever been that close in the first place? Should they have been conceding 3 against Pistols? The answer's probably no. And in that context, when Nine's economy isn't in the ripest of positions right now, you certainly do feel that a couple of extra guns and a little bit of extra cash would go a very long way. And this round just as important because Monte bring out the rifles again, but already punished. It's a very early doors tag up. Boros down to 17.
Pacey. And right into this B-bomb site, Krasnal able to find an isolated duel. They were trying to scale in together, but Kylar does also lose out on a lot of HP for his duel. Finally, a kill that's reciprocated. Monte actually outside of the market door, and there's low HP players around that corner, but they're still scared to fully commit. SDY finishing off a frag. That extra dink does certainly matter. Hades now collecting that bomb, but loses a teammate in the interim, and so a 1-on-3 in the post plant where he is swarmed. He's surrounded. And will find a headshot. That's lovely from Hades. First kill there, but Sumdai Young gets a little too much shoulder, a little too much skin, and Monte will have skin in the game once again at 14.
Insane. Really well played from Monte, as you said, conducting themselves nicely in the post plant, much to the aid of SDY. Not exactly the loudest voice here on the server, but certainly one that's given a lot of promise and hope back into this Ukrainian court. Really intriguing now to see how Nine are going to, well, do things in map 2, conduct themselves in that second map. Of course, it's their pick. Yumi, you know, mentally, it's never nice to go 1-0 down in a series. I think everyone will tell you that, no matter the level. When you're playing in these BO3s, you're forced basically to make a recovery, you know? It feels like it has to be a spotless game of Counter-Strike, because you know the moment you make a mistake, you're given a chance to crumble to a 2-0.
Yeah.
And I know Nine, they aren't a team really to give in to that kind of pressure, to that external force. You do got to be thinking in your mind, you know, if Monte are able to make Mirage look so easy, what does that mean? What does that propose for the rest of this BO3?
Well, Vertigo would be our second map in the series, and I think a little bit harder to make this kind of play work. Mid-rounding on that map is very, very intricate, very hard. Multiple levels, that's usually how it goes. Boros, nice little smoke, and a little gap around it that he could see and punish Minio for inquiring into connector, and that will stop any sort of second prong to the assault here for Nine. Only out from ramp they'll creep, and Palace is certainly some sort of presence, but only a deke, hard to punish at distance. Goofy's got a lot of space here.
Yeah. Oh my word, he's got headshots to go with it, Yumi, but DemQQ with a double. Unfortunately for Kylar, he's removed shortly after, and it's just Hades now to hold down the fort. It's from ramp as he finds the first. But unfortunately, it will be his last. Woro, he takes him down. Map point Monte, Mirage seems to be their Palace.
Yeah, there's no faulting the way that they're playing. Some great individual ability, but also some nice early calls, you know, even on these half buys or these hero buys that we've seen from individuals on the Monte side. There does seem to be a plan, and usually it is, you know, it has been instigated by, like you said, SDY or Woro, and to have players that are willing to make decisions like that, you know, they could be a do or die. You know, you could very easily dig your team into a rut just as easily as also enable them to steal a round away. Willing to take responsibility, and, well, responsible for a lot of fragging has been Boros. Kai is gone, and Sumdai Young also has a gap round the top con, or the bottom con smoke. Goofy wasn't ready for it, but Flash is great. Woro overwhelmed. That's an AWP retrieved, and Minio does better than that. What has just happened? 4 kills in almost an instant. Monte started this off well, but it's suddenly DemQQ that's left to simply get headshot to death. A round I don't expect, and no one would have expected 9 to win, but they turned that on its head.
It's like someone flicked an on switch. They just removed heads, took scalps, walked into the B site. That's ours now. Thank you, Monte. 15 to 10. At least it's double digits for 9. At least it looks a competent map 1. And they've still got 5 rounds to go. And to be fair to you, looking at the money for Monte, you kind of wonder where all their economy's been sunk into. It's Krasnal that has to fork out a gun. Boros goes for a hero M4 with no armor. Feels a bit silly when SDR's rocking half Kevlar, but I guess, you know, whatever floats your boat. Minio gonna get the run boost across. Underpass boost dismissed and dismantled. But at the end of the day, I don't think Monte stand much of a chance. I don't know, Yumi, personally, I'm not a fan. I'm not a massive fan of this investment whatsoever by Monte. It kind of like throwing a couple of these players into absolute horror financially, and already that AWP not working out.
Yeah, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, feels like. And, well, even if DemQQ only has a USP, Double Dink will collect on Kai. Sumdai Young got his and Boros as well. The USP, no head armor on Hades. Got immediately dismantled and decapitated. Struggling for words, but struggling around like this. 9 were hoping that this would be an easy affair. Instead, it's a 1-on-3 here for Goofy to keep them in this map. And he's already been tagged, already been spotted. They know exactly where he is, and it's given time to retrieve more weapons. Krasnal's just trying to buy as much extra time, and in fact, we'll do that better. 16 to 10 will be how we finish things. Monte taking their map pick in the series and destroying 9. Next, we move to Vertigo. We'll be back after the break.